The pride of all nature was sweet Willie-O. The pride of all nature was sweet Willie-O. The festival swains he gladdened the plains.
Take this and wear it in your hat. A fairy flower. Fancy that.
The festival swains
You'd like a sprig of rosemary? Then promise you'll remember me.
was like to the sweet Willie-O.
Nodding violet, wild thyme, I'll be yours if you'll be mine. Daisies, pansies, and here's rue. One for me and one for you.
The Fairy Queen!
Do you have a little time to listen to a bit of rhyme? You're interested? That's good. I'm glad. Then gather round me, girls and lads, and be attentive. I'll unfold an art which charms the dullest souls.
A spell that's woven as it's heard in living, breathing, moving words.
See, words, like children, like to play. But I'm a queen. They must obey. You might have heard Titania.
Titania, Americans.
I hope I'm not detaining ya. But if you have somewhere else to be, that's absolutely fine by me. My power comes from Shakespeare's pen. He was a man.
Like other men.
Then, so you've heard of him. Hard to believe that mortal skin enwrapped that mind which richly wrought such substance out of pure thought, and wound it in a shimmering skein which now we must unwind again.
Though some say it's not only greatness that we ought to celebrate.
But never mind those quibbles now. I'll sing to you of who and how people through time have honored him, and by this river it begins. A man named Garrick, there's a name, ensured the bard's immortal fame. The Stratford Shakespeare Jubilee, though stormy, was a sight to see back in 1769.
Boring! 1769? Please. I'm Jack Falstaff. Well, young Jack Falstaff. It's always my birthday, and you're all invited. If you've had enough of this doggerel, come with me. Come on, ye lads and ye lasses.
Doggerel? Do you dare resist my spell? Be silent, spirit. I discard you from my train. Get out! You're barred!
You're barred? I've got that on a tea towel, very reasonably priced. Come with me if you want a sweet Billy bargain. 'Tis the season for Shakespeare, fa la 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 la. 1769? Forsooth, I don't remember that party.
Then let me jog your memory, you anachronistic drunken elf! This song's by Garrick, and he quoth, Thou soft flowing haven by the silver stream of things more than mortal thy Shakespeare would dream, would dream, would
Be
dream.
proud of the scams of your county, where faking has fashioned her bounty, where much has been stolen and nothing's been spared, for the bard of all bards was a Warwickshire bard.
The fairies by moonlight dance round the green bed.
And the bard of all bards was a Warwickshire bard. Come, gather round before she finds us. The Stratford Jubilee of 1769, please. It's like being back at school, cramming your skulls with Julius Caesar, friends, Romans, something else. Look, I do love a party. I'm always drunk and hungry. I'm all for celebration, but veneration, not for me, chum. Everywhere I go, they always bang on about him. Where have I ended up this time? The crowning glory of banging on about him. The RSC. Good place to make myself a little of the old do-re-mi. Tea towels and tat. The Shakespeare industry. Well, got any other national industries to speak of? No, didn't think so. But you know what they say. Put money in my purse. Who did say that?
Your go.
No, mate, I think you'll find it's your go. Now, what would these fools pay for, say, a very fine brooch wrought from the very first tree planted by the one, the only, Sweet Willie-O? Well, that's nothing. What about a lock of hair snipped from the very well-conditioned head of Miss Anne Hathaway? Some say she was a blonde, clearly a redhead. I got anything. A letter explaining why he left Stratford. It was because of the infernal Christmas shop opposite his house. I mean, come on! That place is so depressing in February and it's open all year round. I have anything you want, anything you could want. It will explain all and answer every question. I'm not even the most famous thief in all of Stratford. Fake relics, ahoy, rejoice and be glad, for the lad of all lads was a Warwickshire lad.
No horn, silver haven, in song ever flow. Be the swans on my bosom ever whiter than snow, than snow.
Here we go again. Look, I'm one of Burglar Bill's most famous characters. He's made a lot of money out of me. Why shouldn't I make some out of him? You just can't handle the fact that everybody can have a piece of Shakespeare.
Don't be so disingenuous. His works are made for all of us, and everyone can play a part, but you are cheapening his art, reducing its transcendent beauty. Just read a bit. You have a duty. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?
Dunno. I'm really sweaty and I do go on a bit. Here, let's have a look at that. Now, what will happen if we take this bit and move it there? New characters will end up in completely
You can't let him get away with it.
different plays. Oh, well, they say if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But, well, this creativity lark, I feel like a prophet, new inspired. That's Richard II.
Now is the winter of our discontent.
And there's Richard III, up on the balcony. Oh, what fun.
I don't like the looks of this.
Just you wait.
But soft, what light through yonder window breaks? Seriously, what light? Who's this guy?
I am Richard, Duke of Gloucester, misunderstood king and long-term Leicester resident. And now is the winter of our discontent, made glorious summer by all these fires I've been starting. I've got really into starting fires.
You're not supposed to be here. I wanted to declare my paeans of undying love to Juliet and give her this pig. And quickly, too. Filming doesn't come cheap.
Oh, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou such a drip? Nothing's undying. I mean, look at this place. You can't get rid of it. I burnt it down in 1926 and they built it straight back up again. Every architect needs an arsonist. And now we have this beautiful Art Deco edifice.
Why is this guy talking about Art Deco?
And when they tore out the old theatre, they kept the floorboards from the stage. You're walking on them now between the cafe and the gift shop.
The hallowed ground once trodden on by Sir Ian McKellen, Sean Bean, David Tennant, who played me back in 1973, 1986, 2000.
Well, yes, but also stomped over by every stagehand, every hydraulics operator, everybody sent with broom before to sweep the dust behind the door. And before that, they were just wood, weren't they? Even if they did come from the mulberry tree.
The mulberry tree, planted by Shakespeare himself in his own garden. Oh, Sweet Willie-O, the god of my idolatry.
They're just wood. And wood burns. When I burnt down the Globe Theatre in 1613, were you there?
No, they were performing Henry VIII, not usually an audience favourite, but still that does seem like a rather extreme reaction. I thought Burbage was the Sean Bean of his day.
Globe. Surely the Globe is for everyone. Why should one man have an entire globe? Isn't that just greedy?
But Shakespeare wasn't like other men. His words were for all time.
Exactly. Just because you wouldn't put my speeches on a fridge magnet doesn't mean you won't remember them. Did you know I coined the phrase, a tower of strength? Do you really want to be quoting me? Do you want me on your lips?
I bite my thumb at you, inhuman dog, unfit for any place but hell.
Come and get me then. I'm up here, you're down there.
Among the people, as if you would care. Here's a fire story for you. The Birmingham Shakespeare Library burnt down in 1879 and everyone pitched in to save it. Not just snobs and academics. The mayor himself helped out. Came straight from a dinner party in a top hat and tails and he mucked in, pulling books out of the flames. And donations from ordinary people replaced the entire collection within 3 years.
How touching. And I suppose you would have done the same.
Of course.
So here's a riddle for you. If Juliet, your Juliet, and the manuscript of Romeo and Juliet were both trapped in a burning building, which would you save?
My Juliet, of course.
Even if the play would be lost forever, unable to bring love and beauty to the lives of the millions of people who have seen it since across the world, some of whose lives it may even have saved, and all for the sake of one girl's life.
I choose Juliet. Every time.
Then you've just written yourself out of existence. You've burnt yourself to ashes. Out, brief candle.
Speaking of candles, can I interest you in this mulberry-scented specimen? The sort that Shakespeare would have written by the light of for the true Elizabethan experience.
Why should we celebrate Shakespeare with a scented candle?
Why should we celebrate him at all? I'm 90% sure that guy just called him an arsonist.
But what about his immortal words?
We can just write them on the candle.
Are kitschy souvenirs really the way to honour his achievements?
Well, if it isn't fun, it isn't celebration. That's what these people, the coffee-sipping literatia with their fancy little shoes and their curly, fluffy wigs, don't seem to understand. I mean, what's in it for me? Where do I come in?
Well, if you're so unhappy, why don't you try taking matters into your own hands?
What? Like a bunch of amateurs? That's not very Shakespearean.
Are you sure?
One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. Rabbit chicken!
'Tis I, Hamlet the Dane, and don't blame me. I ask for a simple troupe of performers, the sort who could put something on its feet with minimal fuss. Art for art's sake, without catering to the lowest common denominator. Yes, they're amateurs, but it's not like they haven't had good reviews. The best actors in the world, either for tragedy, comedy, historical, pastoral, comical pastoral, tragical, comical, historical, pastoral. Well, look, I'm all for community engagement, audience participation even. But there's just something about being on a stage that just feeds the ego, isn't there? Feeds it like corrupted flesh. And just look at these grizzled goons swaggering so near the cradle of the immortal bard. Are we all met?
Let your own discretion be your tutor.
Oh, a philosopher. They didn't teach that one at WADA, the Wittenberg Academy of Dramatic Arts. But come on, what revels are in hand? Is there no play to ease the anguish of a torturing hour?
It is always anguish with you. I'm worn out. If you could just get on with things, then we might have some drama and not all this doubt.
My method is in madness. Don't you see? What you call theatre, I call silly shows. I command you, man by man, according
To
to...
the script, please. Each of us knows what you want from us homespuns. Just to sing songs of your praise, wrapped up as art for our sake.
Collaboration. Always a mistake.
Mate, we're all here now. We've exchanged pleasantries. I can see there's been a couple of creative differences, but can't we just get on with the show?
This isn't show business, you piping fool. This is culture, though I've seen yogurts with more ambitious cultures than yours. And here we are in this temple of the muses, but the muses haven't taken very good care of it, have they? Look at these old, creaking, unvarnished floorboards, and they haven't even painted that wall. But it is, I suppose, a convenient place for our rehearsal.
Not problem. He's the writer who thinks he's the director. You're the actor who thinks they're the director. Why don't we just let him get on with it and cast the Fairy Queen?
Flute, I have for you the Queen's part sketched out. She is a creature of infinite wisdom and beauty, and thus must be treated thus, so as to suit the action to the word. Roar you as gently as any sucking dove.
Dove. A roaring dove. A roaring, sucking dove.
He thinks we're the amateurs. Listen, you could do with a little less contemplation, a little more action to the word, and then we might actually get something done. Now, if you would just give up a little bit of control, let me take matters into my own hands.
You can play no part. Observe how I hold you at arm's length. There are more things in my artistic vision than are dreamt of in your philosophy. Allow me to commune with the muses for a moment and do not speak.
I'm bored of this. Look, I like the mug, but it's all very amdram, yes. Very worthy, very noble, 4 stars from the Stratford Herald. But it's not what I'd call a rollicking good time. I just want to party like it's 1599. I just want a piece of the action.
Well, if you just let me tell you about David Garrick.
Alas, more Garrick.
Listen, will you? David Garrick was a titan of the English stage, the greatest actor of his age, a Georgian era Kenneth Branagh.
Allow me to throw in a spanner. I just want a good old knees up. I'm not interested in some old ham. Speaking of which, I haven't eaten for hours. Has anybody got a pepperami?
I'm this close to going barmy. Listen, David Garrick paved the way for Shakespeare as we know today. He organized a festival, the first of all in his hometown. Put up a statue in a niche on the town hall. Put down that quiche! Back in 1769, read all about it, there's a sign. Upon the tree my fairies made, you'll find it in the colonnade. So, my dear ladies and gents, let the festivities commence. David Garrick, skip hence. You are an actor of success. Get this rabble to process.
Good evening, sweet Warwickshire and sweeter Stratford, upon the sweetest Avon, and we're here to celebrate the works of the sugariest, most delectable, pastry-like, ice-creamiest, and sweetest bard of them all.
Shakespeare?
Shakespeare! I wanted a procession of Shakespeare's immortal characters to march through the charming streets of Stratford, but it seems they're momentarily indisposed.
Don't look at me. Do you need them? Why don't you just ask these cameramen?
You! Are any of you Shakespearean characters? Aye or nay? If nay, why nay? If aye, then who and why? Are you tragic or comic? Angelic, demonic, fat and round and wicked like the globe itself? Or hungry and lean, generous or mean? What I'm trying to convey is there's in half an array a great enough load to fit in an ode, which, if I may, I mean to say. And this ode itself begins with a question easily answered. To what blessed genius of the isle shall gratitude her tribute pay, decree the festive day, erect the statue, and devote the pile?
Voltaire! It's Voltaire!
But he's not of the isle, he's French!
Oh, you insular English, a box on you. Everything has to be about Shakespeare with you. If it's not Shakespeare, it's roast beef Overdone steak, overdone plays, no sensitivity, just blood and guts. I mean, come on, what a culinary disaster. It makes me cry. Yes, tears of laughter.
But get on with it. You promised a procession, not an ode, not anything about Voltaire, not any interfering commentators.
Well, hey, look, it's raining. What say we go get some cocoa instead?
No cocoa.
Look! This clearly is never going to work. Getting all these people together at once, outside, in England. You and your obsession with processions. It's completely doolally.
Did you say Lally?
No, who's Lally?
I can't believe I never thought of it before. Gwendolyn Lally, the greatest pageant master that ever lived.
What's a pageant?
Why, a pageant is a whole town celebrating itself, making a show of its own history. Shakespeare usually played a part, but so did everybody else, all across the country, in the 20s, the 30s, and 40s. And Gwendolyn Lally was queen of them all. You think I'm majestic, commanding, imperious? Well then, why should we tarry? Picture a green and pleasant valley. And before any more disaster, let's bring on the pageant master. I'll conjure Gwen Lally.
Now, that's quite enough of that. Are we having a pageant or what?
But there aren't nearly enough Shakespearean characters.
Nonsense. We can all play Shakespeare characters. I act a very fine, if I do say so myself, Henry V. Once more unto the breach, dear friends, once more, or close the wall up with our English dead. In peace, there's nothing so becomes a man as modest stillness and humility. But when the blast of war blows in our ears, then imitate the actions of the tiger.
Rawr.
Stiffen the sinews, summon up the blood, disguise fair nature with hard-favoured rage.
Oh, cry God for Lally, England and St. George.
I, Gwendolyn Rosalie Lally Tollendal Speck, played Henry V at the Old Vic in 1916, suave, slick, and with a sword. Our Warwickshire regiment was away and often over the top, and women were fighting for Britain on the stage. And so I thought, why should we let anyone else tell us what to do? Shakespeare is mine and yours. He belongs to all of us. What would our history be without Shakespeare?
More honest, probably.
Why should we go to the theatre to watch our history? Why not simply perform it ourselves? Pageants, by George, I had it. So, why don't we have a pageant right here, right now, here in the Royal Shakespeare Company? Oh, darling. Darling, you must play Queen Elizabeth I as she tours Warwickshire, and the little lad Shakespeare will come and meet you and get your blessing and then set off to write his immortal words.
Oh, of course one shall. A role one will play extremely well. Though I have the body of a weak and feeble woman, I have the heart and stomach.
But who will play Shakespeare? Who could play Shakespeare? He's unparalleled, superhuman.
Yet human.
For our age and for all time, we shall never look on his like again.
Shall we not? I wouldn't be so sure. What about you, lads or lasses? Could one of you be Shakespeare? Will one of you ever write as beautifully or as sinisterly as our Swan of Avon? Is there a Shakespeare here? Who is here and who isn't? Who can put pen to paper and conjure whole worlds out of pure vapour and listen? Should you celebrate me? Celebrate him, celebrate all those middle-class men and celebrate Britannia. What happens then? You've been listening to our idle chatter, but what do you think? Doesn't that matter?
So come one, come all to our pageant of kings. For everyone's rich in poetical things. Come join in Lally's pageant, or Garrick's jubilee. It's a civic celebration, Shakespeare for you and me.
We think as our immortal bard. Confined to universities, 'cause his words are too hard. But remember, he was human. If you pricked him, he would bleed. He's not averse to cliche. He forgot to proofread. Our poet was a clever son who found immortal fame. So don't simply revere him. Think, why shouldn't I do the same?
So come one, come all to our pageant of kings. For everyone's rich in poetical things. Come join in Lally's pageant or Garrett's jubilee. It's a civic celebration. Shakespeare for you and me.
You and me.
Now, that image would look great on a souvenir postcard. 2,000 Warwickshire lads and lasses in the cast alone. And all those mums and dads too. Lally, you're a gold mine.
Garrick sold souvenirs too. Just look at this fetching rainbow ribbon.
Very nice. Well, I've gone to the liberty of having some rather nice badges made up for our kind spectators.
Well, so have I.
Place your order now.
Buy mine.
Buy mine.
Mine's better.
Here you have it, madam. The true likeness of the unique, unmatched Shakespeare.
Unique. I thought you said he was a man like other men.
Well, you can't put anybody's face on a mug.
That's true. He's matchless still, the will of all wills.
Well, he pays my bills. That's the thing about words for all time. If nothing else, they're recession-proof.
So, come on, young Jack, tell me the truth. What does Shakespeare mean to you?
A steady stream of revenue. And you?
An icon for eternity.
That seems to be the same to me.
So, come on, Jack. Shall we sing his praises?
Depends how much it raises.
But don't you want to celebrate?
Oh, I'll do it. Just don't tell my mates.
Shakespeare star, the pride of all the nation. The sacred art, just right for veneration. We like a laugh about the matter half, and we like commiseration. So let's do it in that good old Shakespeare style. Local lad, the child of a glover, out-sick dad, the patron saint of lovers. We like craft beer and we like Shakespeare, and we're glad he's ours, not others. So let's do it in that good old native soil, Shakespeare style. Son of Stratford, Birmingham and Warwick, and New Thatcher, Princeton and Yorick. We like Sloan gin and we like to join in, and we like it's something Warwick. So let's do it in that good old civic movement, native soil, Shakespeare style. Characters that make this country famous.
Some most were Italian or Danish.
But we'll act their praise, dream of bygone days, and we'll quote them something shameless.